Welcome back, everyone, to the show and to all of our viewers out there in YouTube land. You know me. My name's Adam over at golfunfiltered.com. Joining me today for the first time is Mr. John Sapiente, and he is the CEO of Volition America. John, how are you today?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me today.
Thanks for coming on. And you and I are going to talk a whole lot about everything that's going on with Volition America. But before we get into that, as listeners to this show know, we'd like to learn a little bit more about your background. So why don't you let us know a little bit about what you do during the day and how you got involved with your brand?
Yeah, great. So I'm a Chicago kid, born and raised. Live in the northwest suburbs. Avid golfer, so I'm glad to be on the uh, call today.
Nice.
My background, which is really interesting about how I got doing what I'm doing with Volition America, is I own two manufacturing companies, one in automotive parts business and one medical device. So it was, I'll say, a pretty random journey that I ended up here today to talk about our brand. Um, and I think a lot of your audience probably knows a brand called Folds of Honor Foundation,
Hmm.
which is a very popular in the golf industry, but it's a military foundation that gives scholarships to our fallen soldiers' families. My connection to the charity was goes back to 2013, and I was at a Folds of Honor event here in Chicago, over in the Inverness area. Lieutenant Colonel Rooney, who is arguably one of the most dynamic, inspirational people I've ever met. I don't know if you know Dan Rooney from his journeys through golf, but
Hmm.
professional golfer, turned three tour duty fighter pilot, and started this charity called Folds of Honor. And I went to the charity event, and I probably shouldn't say this out loud because Dan's going to hear this, but I didn't fall under Dan's spell. I actually bought a round of golf to play golf with Craig Stadler at the charity event. And so
Nice.
I basically was excited to play with the Walrus. What I didn't know was that I was playing with the Walrus on Memorial Day at a tournament called the Patriot Cup down at Folds of Honor's home base. So
Oh, wow.
I went down to Owasso, Oklahoma for the Pro Am and spent the entire weekend with the military and their families. And it was really interesting because for me, my first 45 years of my life, Memorial Day was a barbecue and a day to go hit the golf ball.
Hmm.
And then after walking out of there, I was just in shock and awe that I'd missed this my entire life with what these people do for us. And Folds of Honor became my passion, my charity, my foundation. And I became active in raising money, giving money, my time. And I wanted to give back for, quite honestly, all what these people sacrificed gives me the ability to have the life that I have. So for
Hmm.
3 years, I was a active Folds donor, and it was Major Rooney at the time. He's now Lieutenant Colonel, but Dan and I became pretty good friends, and we were at Ravinia here in Chicago at a Darius Rucker concert,
Hmm.
and he calls me Sap, short for Sapiente, and he said, "Hey Sap, do you know what volition means?" And I kind of laughed, and I said, "No, dude." And he said, "Well, it's the most powerful word in the English dictionary. It's the power
Hmm.
of choice. You can
Hmm.
be happy, you can be sad, you can love, you can hate, but whatever you do, the choices you make write the legacy of your life." And as I said earlier, Dan is an incredibly inspirational guy. So I was like, "Okay, Dan, I get it." And he said, "Well, I want you to help me start a company called Volition America.
Hmm.
And the idea is choose America, and a percentage of everything we sell will go back to the Folds of Honor." And I said, "Okay." And Dan's ideas behind it was, the struggle he had was he had this vision, but you can't use charitable donor money to start a business.
Right.
So he asked myself and a few other Folds donors that are friends of ours if we would all come together and start the Volition America brand.
Hmm.
And so it was kind of funny because Dan's vision, you got to picture Dan's a fighter pilot. So his vision was, and I won't use the language he used, but I will, I guess it was shit hot, which is a pilot term. But he
Right.
wanted a very cool hat, t-shirt, belt buckle, and jeans. So if you picture Tom Cruise in Top Gun, that was kind of what I was gunning for.
Okay.
And now my background is manufacturing, and so I kind of got into it. And the first thing I started with was jeans,
Hmm.
and it was interesting. But as I started to think about it, I got a little daunting Because if you've ever been in a jean store, they got skinny jeans and long jeans
Mhm.
and 30, 30, 30. Now I'm looking at it from an inventory perspective. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. How am I going to
Oh my
start a
god.
jeans brand? And
Right.
then I was very fortunate to meet the founder of Johnny O's as well, which is
Okay.
a golf brand as well. And he shared with me his early trials and tribulations with design. And I had realized really quick that I'm going to make all the same mistakes with building and product. And so my business model was to find a JV partner that
Mhm.
would be able to manufacture design, had all the infrastructure in house, and we'd go sell it. During the gene pivot, we also Folds of Honor is incredibly big in golf. So we
Mhm.
decided that maybe the direction we should go is go within the golf community, and
Mhm.
so that was our direction. The other aha moment, I guess, was we learned that the big part of golf is green grass. So
Mhm.
meaning that pro shops are the sales channel, and I kind of was trying to figure out how am I going to take a bag of polos and drive around the country and sell to all these different shops because I have no distribution. And that's
Sure.
kind of when the business model came together was that look, it's not about us going and selling product. It's about the what Volition America is and getting the message out to people. And if you look behind me, that's our logo.
Yep.
You can see the Folds of Honor logo in the middle of it, and there's wings on it. So the idea of the
Mhm.
brand is that we're is symbolizing basically lifting folds up and taking it places it couldn't go. And so the aha moment for everybody was um, we should partner with the best in class brands to help partner with them. And so we started making some calls, and we were fortunate to meet Dan Ladd and Bob Fillion of Puma Cobra Golf,
Yep.
and they fell in love with the brand. And I mean, it's miraculous even to come together because we had an idea and a logo, and they saw the vision of it and saw Folds of Honor. So in 2017, we partnered with them.
Mhm.
We signed a deal in January 17, and they had product on the shelf in summer of 17, which is amazing. And every year the volume has doubled in sales, and it's really about exposure that people really understand that the badge is really about teaching people the power of choice and unifying them through good choices. And oh, by the way,
Mm.
we're giving back to those who give us the power of choice. And
Hmm.
we had some really significant moments that helped the brand, and one of which was Gary Woodland. In
Yeah.
2018, his deal with Under Armour expired, and he was looking for his next partner. And Gary is, and it was really funny, is Dan, Rooney, myself, Gary Woodland were all Kansas Jayhawks. None of us
Oh,
knew
okay.
each other, so it's a total coincidence. So I've got my
Nice.
Jayhawk mug right here. Um, but we Dan and Gary had gotten to meet each other through the fact that they're both golfers at KU, even though there's an age difference. And so Gary became a supporter of Folds of Honor. And
Mhm.
while he was looking for his next brand, he asked if, "Do you guys mind if I wear Volition America on tour?" And so I think that was the year he basically made it to the final grouping in the last day of the PGA.
Right.
I think he played with Tiger the final day. Our brand started to get a lot of
Mhm.
exposure, and our sales is it was unbelievable how fast the sales increased with the exposure.
Mhm.
And then in 2019, Puma ended up signing him as our first official ambassador of Volition America, and he wore it 2019, which there's some really cool things that happened on the day that he won. But he ended up winning the
Mhm.
U.S. Open, and the
Right.
Volition logo was loud and proud on national television. We made 2,000 special edition shoes that sold in 24 hours. I mean, it was just,
That's
yeah, it
incredible.
was totally incredible. And the thing is we give 13% of our revenue, Volition America's revenue, back to Folds,
Mm.
and net profits 13% of revenue. And the reason is there's 13 folds in the flag. So if you look at the Folds of
Gotcha.
Honor logo, it's a folded flag. So Gary Woodland, I don't know if you guys know this, but he was 12 under going into 18. He
Mm.
had you got to watch the highlight, but he had a 25, 35-foot putt, and he had a three jack to basically win.
Right.
He made it 13 under.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just actually, it's been 2, 3 years, and I just got chills again. And so it's almost like there's a higher power that made this happen. But the brand really, from that point on, it just took off. And our idea really was, how do you partner with best in class partners within different segments to help bring the word to, like,
Mhm.
basically elevating Folds and Volition to different segments of the world. And so we just recently signed a deal with Wilson for baseball.
Right, I
Revo
heard.
signed on. We're working on some different other segues, but the interesting thing what we're building, and I kind of making up words as we go, but we're calling it a brand coalition. And the
Oh,
brand
nice.
coalition is getting best in class brands to all come together as a community and bringing their audiences together. And so this summer, I think June, Wilson will be launching two series. The first one will be called Old Glory, and it's a
Mhm.
large red, white, and blue launch with Wilson A2000 gloves, DeMarini,
Mm.
Evo
Mhm.
Shield, hats, T-shirts. So that'll launch. Revo's products are going to start rolling out in May. Um, it's pretty neat to see it all coming to life. And then we've got 4 or 5 other brand partners that we're pretty far down the road talking to. Puma actually has the new Rad driver. They're coming out
Yep.
with the Volition America Rad driver. It's designed after the Thunderbird jet. So
Oh,
I think it's
nice.
April 25th that it comes out. I think I'm
They've got some pretty smart people over there too who probably could design a, fighter jet,
yeah, it's
actually.
pretty cool. Actually, I heard the driver's long. Um, I can't wait to hit it. I'm playing their Speed Zone right now, and I love that driver.
Mm.
So
Yeah, those things are launchers
yeah,
for sure.
so that's kind of what we're doing. I am just getting the word out, and Folds
Mhm.
of Honor is an amazing charity that I think they've given away over 130 million dollars of scholarships to the families, and they're Gold
Wow.
Star rated. Um, Dan's an amazing human being that I think would be great to have on the air as well. Um,
Sure. Yeah, I've heard a lot about them, and I think what's interesting about the story is that you've gotten. I like to hear the progression of how things kind of went, and then you had mentioned going to a top notch player in Gary Woodland. Certainly the 2019 U.S. Open champion. When you have that conversation, and it sounds like it was one of those mutually, hey, this just makes sense. As you have additional conversations with other top players or top brands, what's usually the reaction that you get? I would imagine pretty
yeah,
positive.
it's they get it right away because it's just there's when I started this, I knew very little about branding and marketing because my business, that's not my business. And as I've
Mhm.
learned, people talk about there was like 4 or 5 things that a brand needs to have, which is DNA, authenticity, cause. If you could have all these things, and people buy today, they buy around being connected to a brand. When I
Mhm.
talk to them about Volition America, it's like we check all the boxes. And what I really like about it, did I lose you? It says,
No,
okay.
I'm still here.
Um, what I, what I really is that people connect to this brand, and it becomes something that they want to stand up and say, this is what I'm about. So it's not necessarily about
Mhm, mhm.
designing the newest, coolest technology. It's about the logo being loud and proud, and the brands get it. I
Mhm.
mean, they're able to, instead of they got the coolest, hottest glove. They're able to connect with people on an emotional level, and that's what Volition America is. And so we're
Nice.
trying to do. We've got a bunch of things in store. Just everything takes longer than I wanted to. But we started in the running space, doing
Mhm,
events. We partnered with Ram Racing out of Buffalo Grove, and we had to put that
mhm,
on hold because of COVID and a few other reasons. But we're working on. I'm trying to work with the USTA about a National Tennis
mhm.
Day where everybody stands up
Nice.
and says, today everyone playing tennis is we're going to get back to Folds of Honor, and we're about power choice and coming together, and I think building the community now and the following. So we're going to try to do that. We're starting in the fishing space too. I'd like to do
Mhm.
some fishing, Volition Cup fishing tournaments, and all of this, the proceeds go back to Folds of Honor. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's
Sounds like a full
people
plate.
get it. People get it. They
Yeah,
like it.
well.
We're trying to launch by third quarter a Volition America marketplace, which is basically
Oh,
everyone
okay.
can go to instead of our website, it'll be an e-commerce site, and all the brand partners' products will be there. And what we're trying to show
That's
people
great.
too is this is not a Fourth of July brand or Memorial Day brand. It's a brand of 365 days a year. It's
Mhm,
something
mhm.
that, it's, I think we've seen it all. I've never thought 2020 would be the way it was. We
Right.
want people to make good choices. You can have whatever political view you want. This isn't a political brand.
Mhm.
And I tell people all the
Sure.
time, it's not red or blue. We're red, white, and blue. So we're a
Mhm,
unifier, a
mhm.
force multiplier. You can be very passionate left. You can be very passionate right. You still love your country, and
Right.
that's what this is about. And so for me, and that if you, Dan's got a new book that he just launched. That there's a chapter on volition, but he has basically modeled his whole life after using the word volition. So part of his goals
Hmm.
in the brand was teach people volition. And the idea of volition, it doesn't even have to be choosing America. It's just having good volition is just getting you to a point in your life where you say, I can do something or I will do something, and using that volition as a positive good. So when I learned volition,
Yeah.
we have a little video that's on our website. It's like 45 seconds about what volition is. I played it for my kids because it's the truth. You when you were a little kid, you
Mhm,
remember your
mhm.
mom saying, "Make good choices when you left the door."
Oh, yeah,
That's
all
what
the
this
time.
is. So, it-
I didn't make a lot of good choices,
yeah,
but
exactly. But that's the idea behind the brand.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense too, John. And I think it's interesting when you talk about the power of choice, and I imagine that that's even more important to have that strong foundation, even in a uncertain time like we all just experienced, and even more so when we all just experienced this huge golf boom in 2020. I mean, one of the, if not the most record breaking years for the sport, which I'd imagine offered a lot of opportunities for Volition to get out there even more.
Yeah, absolutely. We um we are finding that people they've really just gravitating the whole message behind it. It's not just some people,
Mm,
folds of honor to them is really important, but it's the messaging that makes them feel good about what they're doing. And
mhm.
our goal is just to teach people the messaging and bank awareness to folds of honor.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I've always said this too, and listeners have probably heard me say this 100 times, or if not more. One of there's a lot that's said about golf, and not all of it's positive. But the one thing that I can say that golf does a really good job of is you can go out, you can enjoy the game, all the elements of the game, all of which includes not only the rules of the game, but also the way that you interact with one another. As I hit my
Yeah.
microphone stand, but also even brands that you choose to play, and regardless of what you do, and kind of to the point that you raised earlier, regardless of where you land on whatever spectrum, you can still actually appreciate in a unified manner, all doing something for 4 hours out of your day. At some point, we're all right there. You might go your separate ways after, the 18th hole, but for the 4 hours, you're right there. And you're all enjoying something that you really can enjoy for a very long time
Yeah,
of your
golf's
life.
come to like golf for me as a kid. I was really passionate about what I shot and how low I could go and practicing. And as I got older, it became more
Sure.
about the community. So my
Mm.
sacred times are my 4.5 hours with my buddies on the golf course, just hanging out and laughing and teasing each other about the terrible shots we hit. And
Oh,
but
yeah.
yeah, I mean that's what golf's a great community, and that's kind of why we started in golf. Is the
Mhm.
connections are endless. Um,
And
yeah,
lifelong for a lot of
yeah,
people.
yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Folds of Honor has, like you mentioned, been around for quite a while, and certainly listeners to this show and golfers in general know a lot about it. And it's I had never heard the 13 tie
Yeah.
in there. That was really interesting to hear that for the first time. As we learn more about these efforts for organizations like yours, brands like yours, where do you see that sense of community going in the game? I mean, is it going to grow in your mind? Do you see other coalitions, to use the word that you used, forming? Do you see other
Well,
brands hopping
that's
on? I'm sure that
that's
you
for
would
sure
certainly
what
hope
we're
so.
seeing. So like like Revo came in. We're gonna tie Revo into the golf community. We actually had a cigar conversation yesterday with somebody about Volition cigars. Um,
Nice.
we have a bunch of brand partners that want to tie into this whole golf community of stuff. And so,
Hmm,
one
hmm.
of the things we do though is when we partner with a brand, they have exclusivity to the Volition brand. So, like Cobra Puma has all of our clubs and our apparel, and I'm going to
Hmm.
be loyal to Cobra Puma Golf forever because they're the guys who took us the first shot on us day one, and incredible
Makes sense.
partners. But yeah, we that's kind of our vision behind this is as we add partners into a segment, there's a bunch, and they're all helping each other, and that's the piece that they're getting as
That's
well,
right. Yeah.
because
Hmm.
the theoretically, like the Puma audience, you'll have the entire Revo audience come in and they're looking at Puma stuff and vice versa. So they're getting some free marketing out of it too from getting introduced to all these different audiences. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
it's been great. And the pro shops actually, what's really interesting, the pro shops are starting to all understand what Volition America is. So it's not necessarily here's a
Hmm.
cool shirt
Hmm.
and we got to tell you what it is. They're all now coming and saying what's new with Volition, and it's fun for me when I go to different clubs and I see it hanging and all over. I think we're in 1,600 pro shops now. Yeah, so
Nice.
it's starting to get some legs under it, and then we're hoping this summer with the Revo we'll have a bunch of Volition America point of sale displays with glasses at all those shops, and I think every golf
That's
course is selling
fantastic.
cigars. Yeah,
Well, that's
so we
true.
gotta get our message out in different ways.
A lot of those golf courses, and listeners, you know who you are. I know there are a few of you who work at golf courses, GMs, owners. If you're not already involved with Volition America, reach out to us. We'll get you in touch with John, and I'm sure John, you'd
Absolutely,
be welcoming any other
love to
new
have you in the
names.
family.
S- So, John, we're right up against the clock here, and once again, listeners, we're talking to Mr. John Sapiente, CEO of Volition America. What are you most excited about right now for where your company's going?
Um, I said this to one of my friends about 4 or 5 years ago. We were walking through the airport in LA, and I said, the day I'm walking through an airport and I see someone, some random person other than someone I know with Volition on, then it really is
Yeah.
working. And now it's starting to pop up all over. We're seeing it on social media all over. Like, um, we saw Jim McMahon at the Tahoe tournament playing barefoot in Volition America. I don't know how many Entourage fans there are, but I got a picture of Johnny Drama on there, Kevin Dillon wearing
Nice.
Volition America. So, and we're not paying ambassadors to wear our stuff. I mean, Gary's a Puma paid athlete, but he picked it because he was
Mm,
passionate about it. But all these pop ups, like Johnny Damon had it on one day. And one of the things that was
mm,
very important to me early on was, when The Rock goes and promotes $2 million, this I'm gonna buy this. We all know that he was paid
yeah.
to say that, and so we want the whole
Mm,
authenticity of the brand. I want people that are passionate about what we're doing to be
hmm.
supportive of it. So I'm most excited to see it actually gaining traction, and obviously, the more traction we get, the easier it is to find brand partners because you're going in warm now
Right.
where they know exactly what it is before, let me introduce you to the brand. But it's been pretty
Yeah.
fun to see it come to life and the impact of my family with the message has been very cool too. My kids really understand what this is about, not only
Hmm.
about the Folds of Honor. And I think I mentioned early on, I'll say, my first 45 years, I was kind of naive to what the military and the value they brought. And Dan gave me what I call that patriotic awakening, where I got, a little crack in the head and said, dude, how do you miss this? But I'll tell you a little
Right.
quick story. We were on spring break walking through the Charlotte airport, and I didn't know where my youngest son walked away to, 2-second panic.
Mm,
And I turned around and
sure.
he was about 11 years old, and he had walked over to military and shake their hand and thanked him for his service. And that's all
Oh,
because of
wow.
this and Folds of Honor. And so I think it's really important that people really understand what value these people bring to our lives and what they're doing for us and the sacrifices. And hopefully, Folds of Honor can elevate to places that they couldn't normally get to with Volition America lifting it up. And that's what we're trying to do.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you have it, folks. I mean, Volition America, you know the name if you've played golf for more than 5 minutes. It's all over the place,
Yeah,
even
there you
airports,
go.
as John just mentioned. And they're getting a lot more brands involved as well from different industries, different sports. So, John, thanks so much for coming on to tell the story. And if there's anything that we can do in the future, please let us
Yeah,
know. Let's
thank you
keep in
so much.
touch.
Thanks for having me.